How to take better photos with a cheap action camera. There are many kinds of action cameras available on Amazon and other websites. And of course, even though action cameras are used mainly for recording videos, a lot of them, or if not all of them, also take pictures. In this video, I wanted to show you how to take better photos with a cheap action camera. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at this particular camera, but keep in mind that this really applies to any action camera that takes photos. First, we're going to insert our micro SD memory card. That's very important. You will need a micro SD card so you can store footage, photos, videos on your camera. So, how to take better photos. If you've ever taken photos with a very cheap action camera, you might know that sometimes they're not very good, but there are two ways that I've found to help enhance your photos if you really don't have anything else. Obviously, this is not going to replace a smartphone camera or a regular separate point-and-shoot camera. But if you have this camera or any cheap action camera and you really have nothing else to take a photo with, I'm going to show you two ways to have better photos. Okay. So here's any camera. It doesn't have to be this one. This is just an old camera from several years ago. So let's go to the photo feature. Okay. Settings. Okay. So on photo settings, first of all, just keep in mind that I would probably go to the highest setting, but keep in mind that a lot of these cameras, they'll kind of advertise that they have a huge amount of megapixels, but the photos sometimes aren't really that good. So disregard that. Let's just say, okay, let's go to the highest resolution, 16 megapixels. Okay. So I'm just going to say with with cheap action cameras, generally, the overwhelming majority of the cases, photos and videos don't look very good in low lighting. So if you're going to take photos with a cheap action camera, make sure that it is sunny and that there's lots of light. So that's the first thing. Make sure there's lots of light because that'll dramatically enhance the quality of your photos. And similarly, if there's low lighting, it's dark, I would not recommend taking pictures unless you have to, because if you're simply trying to make like an aesthetically better photo with more detail and more colors, do not take photos in low lighting. Really, just if it's sunny, if it's partially cloudy, very sunny, and you want to capture maybe some of the sky in the video, I would just definitely recommend taking photos in sunny weather. That's the first thing. The second thing, which might not be obvious and until you put the camera underwater, is a lot of these cheap action cameras, unless they're supposedly waterproof without the underwater housing, most of them will have separate underwater housing that comes with the camera in the package. You won't have to separately buy this. So the second thing that would enhance your photos on a cheap action camera is actually taking photos or videos, but I'm talking about photos here, underwater. So one of the benefits of cheap action cameras is they're cheap. So in the event that it does leak, you're not losing a whole lot of money if the camera breaks. But more often than not, I've tested many cameras underwater. A lot of the times, the underwater housing will hold very well, and there will be no leaking through the underwater housing. So one thing I always thought was interesting, and I've noticed, is that when you take photos and videos underwater, the quality, even on a really cheap, not very good quality camera, I feel like the quality is actually enhanced underwater for some reason. So that was the first thing, was take photos when it's very sunny, lots of lighting. And the second thing is try taking photos underwater after putting your camera in the underwater housing. And the quality can actually be good. So if you're thinking about taking a camera on vacation, try it, and you don't want to spend several $100s on an action camera, try going on Amazon, looking and researching for a cheap action camera, because and of course taking videos at every resolution and figuring out what video setting you like best, maybe 1080p, 60 frames per second. I'm always surprised with how the quality looks underwater for photos and videos. So that's the second thing. Try taking some photos and videos underwater after putting the camera in the underwater housing. Because that's one neat thing about these cameras. They can be very durable. The underwater housing can be very durable underwater with no leaking. Not all the time, but most of the time, from my experience testing many cameras. So that's it. How to enhance your photos on a cheap action camera. Take photos with lots of lighting. And two, try taking some photos and videos underwater, especially underwater when there's a lot of lighting, when it's sunny, whether it's a pool or the ocean. And I think the quality usually turns out to be better than I expected always. Thanks for watching this video, and have a nice day.